Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the regular public meeting of the Henry County Board of Commissioners for 9 a.m. Monday, December the 19th, 2011. I need a motion of acceptance of the agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair. Mr. Chair. Excuse me, Chair. I'm customary to give you.
Thank you. I'm not a madam. We have a motion by Commissioner Stamey, a second by Commissioner Holmes. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 4-0.
Let's see if you're back over there.
And commenting to that, as you can see, I'm not Chairman Mathis. She's not feeling well this morning, and she probably will be back with us tomorrow night. First item on the agenda is Social Services, a resolution requesting approval of a contract with the Georgia Department of Human Services for the Community Services Block Grant for fiscal year 2011-12. Our presenter will be Susan Craig, Senior Services Director. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning. This is our annual Community Services Block Grant contract, and it's in the amount of $115,074 for this federal fiscal year. This is the same amount that we ended up with at the end of the year.
Susan, how does that compare to previous years?
Well, this year we ended up receiving the same allotment as we did last year, and last year we had received an increase because of the poverty level in our county.
Okay. Any board member have a question?
I notice this goes to seniors age 60 plus who are 8 to 10% below the poverty level. Do you have a statistic as to where Henry County sits as far as numbers of seniors that we have in that category?
According to the latest census figures that I've seen, they're estimating that 8 to 10% of our seniors live below poverty level in this county.
Thank you.
Any other question?
I have a comment about Commissioner Holder. My wife, as you know, delivers Meals on Wheels at home, and I know that Commissioner Letta also delivers them because he called me one time. He was trying to do his delivery, but it's a very worthwhile thing, and I challenge retirees and those that have an opportunity to do it. The blessings that you receive from doing it far outweigh the little bit of time that it takes to do it. And these people really, I mean, they're waiting at the door in most cases. You know, they're waiting at the door if they can get to the door. And in some cases, just recently, one lady said, "Come on in, I can't get to the door." And so I opened the door and went on in. I think she was surprised because it was raining, and I help my wife, especially when it rains, so she don't have to get in and out. But I do want to challenge the retired citizens of Henry County that have time that they can do some things. They would get a tremendous blessing out of helping these.
Thank you. I'd like to make one more comment, if you don't mind. We have just concluded our Adopt a Senior Christmas program, and we adopted out between 300 and 400 seniors this year. And almost every department in this county government adopted a senior, a minimum of one. Some adopted 3 and 4. And even when employees are taking furloughs and not receiving raises, they still are thinking of others, and I appreciate each and every one, and especially you on the board who help us every week.
Any other comment? If not, is there a motion on the resolution?
Move to approve.
A motion by Commissioner Bowman, second by Commissioner Holmes. All in favor? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Moving on to public safety, we have a resolution requesting authorization to purchase an online investigation system. Presenter is Major Jason Bolton and Lieutenant Terry Lunsford. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Commissioners. In October, the Board approved the acceptance of the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $30,940 for an online reporting system. This system is to be used to track transactions not only at pawn shops, but recycling centers, precious metals and gems dealers, and other regulatory-type businesses. The police department believes that this system will be a tremendous investigative tool that will help track stolen property as well as identify suspects of our property crimes here in the county. The police department is requesting that we award the contract to Leads Online. This is the system that McDonough Police Department already uses at their department, and they have also provided the county with a sole source letter. Lieutenant Lunsford, who has been pretty much our project manager on this, is going to say a few things regarding the coordination between our department and the cities, as well as how this grant will break down and cover the costs of the first couple of years.
I did have multiple meetings with city representatives, Matt Donald, Hampton, Los Grove, and Stockbridge. And just last week, I received through my contacts that all three chiefs were supportive of this project and would like to participate. The system basically is an electronic reporting system. The pawn shops do the reporting themselves, and it will help us in many ways. Athens Clarke County uses the system. The lieutenant there provided me that they use the system. They love it. It has helped them recover property, arrest suspects, and even recover property even before it was stolen. I was in the city of Griffin last week at a meeting. The city of Griffin uses it. They praise it. They talked about how on a weekly basis it helps them with cases and property recovery. The system is, they did provide us a sole source. The three items that they provide in their package, one of those is an eBay connection. People sometimes sell stolen property on eBay, and rather than have to go through a tedious process of getting information out of eBay, they have a direct connection where we can just go in there and just pull it right out ourselves immediately. The system is, being that it's reported electronically, it is immediately searchable, meaning where there is no backlog, no delay. As the way it is right now, pawn shops submit to us their transactions on paper, and then we have to enter them in the GCIC. And obviously, with all those transactions, there is a backlog. With Leads Online, that backlog will come to an end. It also has the ability where on the GCIC entry side, we can pull a file from Leads Online, submit it to GCIC, and have it all entered in one batch. So it's a big boon in that way. They also do an NCIC check where they check things that are pawned here or reported stolen here and provide us notice, hey, there's an item pawned somewhere. You might want to see if this is the item of interest to you. They also have something called Labs Online, which we will have search access to. It's a sister product they offer us where pharmacies report into the system, and we will have searchability on that, which will help our narcotics division a lot, or narcotics investigators. The breakdown on the cost, Hampton will be $21.28 a year. Locust Grove is $21.28 a year. McDonough's $28.48. In particular, McDonough, they're already in the system, but they're using a Tier 2 product. Tier 2 does not include metals reporting or the pharmacy investigation system access, but we want to upgrade them to Tier 3 while we're doing this. And the Henry County portion is $11.488. It is based on the number of sworn personnel in this process. On the business side, there is no cost. There is no software cost, no Leads Online related cost. The businesses, if they don't have software, Leads Online will provide it to them. If they need a digital camera or a digital thumbprint device to submit their photographs or images with, Leads Online will give them those devices. If they already have software, Leads Online will work with the software they already have. And their customer service, from the people I've talked to and my experience with them so far, is just top-notch. In year one, the grant will pay for the upgrade to McDonough and the start of the other agencies into the system. In year two, the grant will pay for Henry County in whole and $11.25 per city, and they will have to make up the difference by their own means. And then after year two, the grant will be expended. After that, we're already looking at the methods and procedures to pay for the service. So we're requesting that Leads Online be awarded the contract.
Lieutenant, as far as thefts in the county, I know we constantly, daily, hear about the copper and air conditioners, anything. Has that escalated tremendously in Henry County? And I know things like this certainly will help that because of the...
Yes, sir, it will. If with them reporting this to the system, we don't have to go physically through the business and say, can we see your books? Because regulated businesses, almost without fail, all the ordinance, all the state laws say they will maintain books and they will allow us to come look at them during normal business hours. With Leeds Online, we got access 24/7, and it's there. It's including the images, pictures of the items they sold, picture of the person that sold it, that kind of thing.
But in Henry County, has that type theft really gone up?
I would say yes. I would say that it has become a problem that's become not uncommon in Henry County, but statewide.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Any other question? Mr. Bowman?
Mine falls, I guess, more along the line of a comment to my business, which is in Bellamy Office Park. They took my air handling units out, and I'm fenced in with 3 strands of barbed wire, and there's a recycling place about, you can walk to it, and I'm assuming some of them may have done that. 2 homes that I own, they took the copper, and because one of them was vacant, they decided to stay in there a while and pull the wiring out of the walls, the air conditioning unit and the copper. So, Commissioner Holder, I'd say it's really on the upswing, if anything else. What I kind of have an issue with and is that, you know, if and it's not every case, but I've been told a lot of times a teenager comes in with a trunk load of copper and wire and other things. You know, you pretty well know that they're not, you know, working on a construction site that happens to have that much scrap. And I'm just curious, is this reporting method will the, I mean, how quickly would something like that come? How would we know about it? I mean, how would you know that, you know, at the end of the day, after I've made a report, obviously, but I mean...
If we get a report that some things are stolen, we can go into Leeds Online and search for that item using keywords and phrases. It's like a great search engine kind of thing. Detectives, investigators, if they have someone in mind they think may be stealing air conditioners or stuff, or they are something that has been reported that's kind of unique, they can actually flag such items in Leeds Online, and when anything comes through that matches that person or that item, they will get noticed. Hey, you might want to look at this one. And so it would help us in that way as well. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir. I'm just kind of really hoping that we might be able to get a little stronger on our recycling centers and scrap dealers.
We buy gold.
You know, I know it's asking them to use a little more common sense, other than to make the dollar. But at the end of the day, it's you know, the one in the office was $18,000 worth of damage for, you know, just a couple of thousand. And I'm sure they didn't get the, you know, $100 if they got that much out of what they got. Right. So in the house, the insurance company just did the house on one of them, and it was in the neighborhood of, gosh, I want to say it was almost $20,000 because they got to rewire the whole thing, replumb it, and all the other things. So I'm just real curious as to how they can get into a recycling center and sell this material. And I know they're supposed to get their license and take pictures and all the other stuff, but it seems like that's just really not being done, or it's being haphazardly done. So.
Well, Leeds Online provides us another avenue from a police standpoint related to the businesses. We can monitor the businesses through, you know, we can pull just that business and see their transactions, and if they have numbered receipts or tickets that they do, we can make sure that all the numbers are there instead of some missing, and if they are missing, we can say, hey, what happened to this little ticket here? Or if their descriptions of items are insufficient, we can see, hey, look, you know, this is too generic. This doesn't help us at all. We need you to be a little bit more specific, that kind of thing.
That's all.
How does the software go about identifying stolen property on sites such as eBay?
It has a direct access to eBay. You can actually go in there and search eBay, say we got a Garmin GPS stolen. we can go in there and search eBay for Garmin GPS and restrict it to, say, Stockbridge or McDonough or Locust Grove, and we can find sellers who are based in those locations selling Garmin GPSs. Because logic tells you if they stole it here, they wouldn't go to Alabama trying to sell it on eBay, per se, usually. But we can search nationwide. This is a nationwide system. It is true information sharing. All businesses don't have, the local police don't have to be a participant in the system for a business to use that as their reporting process. Businesses can report for free no matter where they are or who they are. In fact, Walmart does it, Best Buy does it, just as a chain thing. But on eBay, then if we find things that may be stolen on eBay, we can then go in and see this person's, what they're selling now, their sales history, and even who they are and where they live, and the email address they're using.
So at the point you identify these GPSs in Stockbridge, how do you identify exactly which GPS is stolen?
Well, if the GPS has got unique markings on it, or if it's got the serial number on it, otherwise it makes it a little bit tougher after that. And a lot of times on eBay, you do see pictures of the items. So.
Any other question?
The question is, it seems like I've read or heard recently where the crime is not only just the ones that are doing the stealing, but also the pawn shops or metal recyclers or whatever else that they're found to be accepting stolen goods. What I hear here, it's almost like it's voluntary. It's not voluntary, it's mandatory.
Well, with pawn shops, it will not be voluntary because we do have ordinances that say they will report to us on a daily basis. And they give us the printouts that I spoke of. With other regulatory businesses, we do need to upgrade and update our ordinances, and that is something we're already in the process of working on.
And to the extent that they are found accepting stolen goods, is there any penalty or crime it would appear to me without something like that, and I don't know what we do have or might not have, but if I can accept and get away with it, or until I have to give you a report, and then you come in and say, oh, guess what? And oh, gee, I didn't know that.
Well, there can be criminal penalties and as well as pulling their business license kind of thing.
Okay.
Any other question or comment? If not, before you is the resolution. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Commissioner Bowman, second by Commissioner Aletta. All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next item before us is a resolution requesting award of a bid to purchase fire hoses for the new fire trucks. Presenter is Chief Brad Johnson. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Commissioners. This first resolution is for fire hose. We did combine the capital improvement for the new fire trucks with fire hose that was budgeted to be through general fund. We bid it through 13 vendors. Purchasing did this so we could get a better rate on quantity pricing rather than doing two separate packages. Like I said, 13 vendors listed through our submitted proposals through our bidding process. The low bid, the most competitive, was for $16,983 for municipal emergency services. It's our recommendation we go with them low bid.
Okay, any question, comment?
Between small equipment account and capital.
Yes, sir.
You indicated that it was included in the capital request for this fire
Yes,
truck.
sir.
Why would the $10,000 come out of the small equipment account?
Because the capital was for the new fire trucks. That's the number of hoses. And we had budgets for just general replacement. Every year during our testing procedures, we have fire hoses that fail, and we have to replace so much every year. And instead of doing this two separate projects and falsifying it, all of it went to the fire truck. We had it split out for our general purposes. And the stuff, for the one that's coming out of capital is dedicated to the new fire trucks to get them in service.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? If not, do we have a motion for approval? Motion by Commissioner Aletta, second by Commissioner Stamey. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
All right. While you're still there, next item is a resolution requesting approval of the appointments to the West Georgia Medical Services Council. That's exhibit number 4 in your book.
Yes, sir. Henry County is a member of the West Georgia Emergency Medical Service Council. which consists of 12 counties in our region, from Henry County all the way over to LaGrange, Butts County west. The members of that council actually have guidelines for EMS and kind of oversee for the state the EMS services in our region. We do have 4 members on that board. This is a reappointment. It's a 2-year appointment for positions. The 3 top ones, Dr. Charles Evans, our medical director, myself, Captain Billy Kunkel, have been on the board for the last term. I've actually been on it for 2 terms. New addition to the position is Kay Neal, Director of Emergency Services for Henry Medical Center. We'd ask her to participate, to have some hospital representation. It's not a Henry County board position, it's for Henry County as a whole that regulates this board.
Any questions from commissioners? If not, you have a resolution before you. I'll entertain a motion. Move to approve by Commissioner Bowman, second by Commissioner Holmes. All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Chief. Next item is a resolution requesting authorization to accept a grant from the Georgia Emergency Management Agency for the purchase of hazardous materials mitigation equipment. Again, Chief Johnson.
Yes, sir. The part of our grant allocations in the previous for our Level 2 hazmat response team is to receive $15,000 from the Georgia Emergency Management Agency each year. This is a minimum amount they send out to Level 2 teams for sustainability. And this is a yearly contribution we've received from them. This is the 3rd year we've received a $15,000 sustainability. As you know, it does not cover the entire hazmat response, but it does give us the sustainability to replace suits, boots, some monitors and stuff as we use them. So the resolution in front of you is to accept a $15,000 check from GEMA for sustainability of hazmat response team.
Any questions from the Chief? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Commissioner Holmes, second by Commissioner Stamey. All in favor? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Moving on to technology services, we have a resolution before us requesting approval of a contract for professional service with Gartner Incorporated. Presenter is Clark Rayner, Director of Technology Service. Good morning, Clark.
Good morning. What we're asking for today is a contract for professional services from Gartner. Gartner is probably, it's the leading IT consulting firm in the world, specifically aligning business processes with information technology. What this is going to do for us in the immediate future is they're going to work with us hand in hand in developing our requests for proposals, et cetera, as we move forward with our ERP and public safety new software programs. Because it's such an overwhelming impact to the entire county for that software. We're talking about all of our financial systems, our payroll system, our purchasing, inventory, asset tracking. It literally affects every single department in the county. There are many nuances that need to be addressed and addressed appropriately. And it's one of the things that Gartner is going to help us do. In addition to that, it includes basically what we're buying here is a package deal, which gives us a certain amount of access to all of the analysts there at Gartner throughout the contract period of a year. 80% of the Fortune 500 companies utilize Gartner for making IT decisions and aligning IT with appropriate business processes. And in addition, on average, companies that use this Gartner service will save 30% off of their investment in software and contracting services. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Board members, do you have questions of Mr. Rainey? Mr. Leonard?
Yeah, these services, what would we be deficient? What would the IT department, the county IT department, be missing as far as running it effectively, efficiently?
This gives us an access level to basically 80% of the Fortune 500 company IT CIOs out there. It puts us in that user group to be able to share information. It gives us access to lots of analytics and lots of studies and lots of background information about companies, which ones have done things better than others, which ones follow through with their contracts better. Just tons and tons of research that we don't currently have that we wouldn't have access to otherwise. And it gives us professional services. I believe twice a year where actually the consultants are down here in person to go over our IT strategies and really make sure that our small shop of 16, have access to literally thousands of the very best consultants in the IT profession.
Any other question, comment?
Clerk, have we had this before?
We have not.
It's $49,300.
And keep in mind that, on average, companies that utilize this service are saving 30% over the cost of what they would have paid for software had they not had this extra level of somebody else, double-checking the I's and crossing the T's and making sure that everything is actually known up front when going through and developing a bid for software and services. And we've got a $2 million basically budgeted. That's what we believe the software was going to cost. If we can save 30% of that, which I believe this will help us do, I think it certainly more than justifies the $49,000 expense here.
Didn't we just approve?
There are a lot of pieces to this thing. We have gone through some of the hardware portions of this. We've gone through one piece, which is the backup and recovery software. We are moving into the actual stage where we are going to go out for bid and evaluate companies for the actual software package. And there's actually 3 software packages that we're looking at. We're going to do those in 2 separate requests. The first is ERP, or Enterprise Resource Planning. What that means is all of our financial systems, our purchasing, our HR, inventory, asset management. It's also software that we don't use at all today for customer relationship management, which is that citizen tracking system that we're going to be implementing. It also includes a whole development life cycle software package, from everything from planning and zoning all the way through the permitting phase and on to code enforcement. That's a whole life cycle of different departments that are tied together, but it's part of a whole process that happens in what we call the development life cycle.
So you're telling me it could make planning and zoning move a little faster on certain issues?
Yes, sir. We've mapped out the entire process that happens in the planning and zoning department. It's like a 40-page document of different decision tree type decisions that have to be made. It's enormously complex. But we're going to be addressing business processes in every single department in the county. There again, this is where Gartner is going to help us to identify redundancy of efforts and make sure that the implementation and the training portion of that software implementation goes smoothly too. It just helps us navigate something that we don't do every day. Implementing a major system like an ERP system is a big, long, hard thing to do. It's not something that's to be entered into lightly at all. But at the end of the day, it's something we have to do, and it's something that's going to mean just a tremendous amount of cost savings, increases in efficiency, and just making our business processes throughout the county government work better.
Mr. Stamey?
Yes. Mr. Bush, this is probably for you, but the 2026 account, which is the technology account that Clark's referring to, we did all the hardware purchases, 6 weeks ago maybe? There wasn't enough money in there to pay for that. We were going to lease purchases. Will this be part of the lease purchase, or is there actual funds to pay for this in that account?
We actually identified a few things earlier in the year that we have actually a worksheet that all of those line items in the it's a worksheet basically. It's our budget worksheet that we have every single line item, piece of software, every widget, all of those things throughout that's used in that 2026 account. If you'll notice there that there were three or four areas there that, let's see. When we purchased a VM software earlier as a part of that lease purchase, it had an effect of decreasing our previous annual maintenance that's in that 2026 account by $2,160. We chose to replace our firewall vendor with a different firewall, bringing some of those services in-house. We still have an arrangement with ADCAP to help support that, but that showed us a savings of $13,500. We worked with our vendor ADCAP, which provides networking services for us, phone support, that sort of thing. They actually reduced their maintenance charges for us, our annual maintenance fee, by $33,340 because we have Nash Fatah, who works with us, certified Cisco engineer, has actually been able to take on much of the tasks that we were paying ADCAP to do. And then there's another $300 that we'll absorb in another little line item that we have as minor software purchases. It's a small line item to make up the whole amount here. So we're able to actually buy it out of that 2026 account.
Okay, I didn't know, because I knew we were doing some lease purchases with the other upgrade package that we bought in.
Yes, sir.
I think these are true savings instantly that we'll see over this calendar year, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Leonard.
On the same lines, as you mentioned in previous presentations and requests, there were savings that were attached to those, and now you're using them. So I guess my question is, as we were looking forward to savings, and now we're spending the money, when does the savings become savings instead of continue to be used? I guess, where is the story stop? Because I guess this one here, you're talking about, a contract, but you're also indicating why we need it for purchase of software, yet we've done hardware and backroom recovery. What's the total cost of this project? Because it's coming out piece by piece.
The entire project, as was presented during my update on the Technology Services Strategic Plan, is $3.5 million. And now, the hardware itself, you have to consider that its lifespan should be considered 5 years. The lifespan of the software itself should really be considered 10 years, at least. That's how long, once we put this in, that it's going to operate for at least 10 years. And so that $3.5 million is a total price over that period of time, 5 and then 10 years for the software. Now, we think that this $49,000 for this Gardner contract that you have before you right now is really an investment into trying to decrease that $3.5 million, at least the $2 million software portion of it, by, on average, the data shows from Gardner, if you go on their website, shows that on average that you'll decrease that by about 30%. And so I think that it's a wise investment to take those immediate savings that we see this year and apply them to something that's going to save us a lot more money as we move forward over this project, the whole 10-year software project.
So the hardware and the backup and recovery is about $1.5 million, and the software is $2 million?
Yes, sir.
And we're looking for about $600,000 reduction of that $2 million at the 30%.
We're hoping so. On average, that's what their data shows.
I'm just using your numbers, that's all.
And I said on average, that's what their number shows. So
Are they going to come here when you make your presentation, actually purchase that software?
Actually, they will.
So if the 30% is not there, then we can have...
That's the other thing that they'll do, is they will help navigate and help me give better presentations so that you understand all these, the technical jargon, the technical ease that comes along with what we do in the IT field.
Thank you.
Any other question or comment? If not, you have before you a resolution. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Commissioner Stamey, second by Commissioner Holmes. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Clark. Moving on to SPLOST, we have a resolution requesting approval of a budget amendment to transfer funds. Ron Burkhalter, Capital Projects Director. That'll be exhibit number 7 in your book.
Commissioners, good morning. Fire Station number 9 is an approved designated SPLOST 3 project currently under construction. Funding is needed to cover the cost to install a right turn lane and access road adjacent to the fire station, and also for the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. District 4 Commissioner Reed Bowman previously agreed to have funds moved from the Fire Station Number 9 account for the purchase of the Locust Grove Event Center, with the agreement that any funds left from the parking deck project would reimburse the Fire Station Number 9 account. The SPLOST 3 parking deck project is 100% complete. A remaining balance totaling $348,992.95 is available in the SPLOST 3 parking deck account to be transferred to the Fire Station Number 9 account. If you have any questions.
Questions, board members? Commissioner Letta?
This is the capital, obviously capital projects, part of SPLOST, as opposed to roads, which is correct. One of the items in my district that is in need, and we've talked about, is the Flippin Road fire station needing to be replaced, and it's part of the capital projects for which there's not enough money. What is the status of doing something with that as far as repairing, improving, or whatever, that facility? Any money been allocated or going to be allocated to do something to get it through the next year or two till the SPLOST money is available?
Currently, no funds have been made available.
Okay.
Any other question or comment? If not, you have a resolution requesting transfer of the funds. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Commissioner Bowman, second by Commissioner Stamey. All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Ron. Moving on to Public Works, we have a request for a resolution approval of an amendment to the local road acceptance of Patrick Henry Parkway and Meadowbrook Drive. The presenter is Terry McMichael, Public Works Division Director. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Chairman, board members. This morning we would like to amend a local public road acceptance of Patrick Henry Parkway and Meadowbrook signed by the board November 1st, 2011 to include a portion of Highland Drive. When Georgia DOT sent this out, at the time we knew that they had left that off, but we didn't want to hold up the bid process on the I-75 Jodico Road interchange, so we went ahead and signed it. They have since sent this local road acceptance form back and added Highland Drive to it. This agreement, again, says that once Georgia DOT gets through making those improvements to those roadways, that we will accept them back into our roadway system. So they had left it off of the previous one, they added it, and they sent this form to amend that and get it back straight. And it's my understanding that this project now will be let in January, and that's last word I received, that is to happen. So I don't think we'll have any more postponements for that. So the I-75 Jodico interchange project should bid in January. Be happy to answer any questions you may have, and this relates to that project.
Any questions from the board? If not, you have a resolution before you, and I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Commissioner Bowman to approve, second by Commissioner Stamey. All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. And again, Mr. McMichael, we have a resolution requesting approval of a memorandum of agreement with Georgia DOT regarding the landscape along Jonesboro Road, and that will be Exhibit 9 in your book.
There's a very long story behind this one, so I'll try to condense it for you. Several years ago, we had an existing state aid contract to do landscaping along Jonesboro Road from I-75 to Norfolk Southern Railroad. At that particular time, that project required irrigation along that roadway. The governor's office came about shortly after that and restricted any approvals of permits that would allow median work, especially the irrigation of it, because of water shortage. The county went back with the city. Of course, the city is in partnership with this all along. The county went back and we revised. We got a new plan landscaping the road that does not include irrigation, and we made some additional improvements with some input from McDonough and citizens. We revised the plan. We have taken those plans to Georgia DOT, and now instead of issuing what they call a state aid contract, this is what they call a memorandum of agreement. This agreement here is a lump sum agreement, and it's agreement that reimburses you as you spend the money. So this agreement would reimburse us for the landscaping of Jonesboro Road. Previously, this board has signed an agreement with Georgia DOT that requires us to do the maintenance of that roadway. They won't give out these agreements unless you agree that after you plant all this materials that you will take care of it. Kind of a common sense thing. In addition with that, we have worked out an intergovernmental agreement with McDonough where McDonough will actually do the maintenance and we will do an exchange of services for that. So all of that's been done. This is the final step in that process. If the board agrees with this, it will allow us to proceed. I think Tim has already bid out the planting materials. So as soon as this happens, and I believe Tim's here, I believe we're ready to proceed with the actual planning of the roadway. I'd be happy to answer any questions on this. I know, like I say, this has had a long history, and if you need additional comments, I'll be happy to explain some of that.
Question? Commissioner Levin?
You indicated that one of the requirements is that we will take care of it, which, as you said, obviously we would. But part of taking care of landscaping, I would think, would be watering. And the governor's office, as you said, squashed this back in '06, made you come back and not allow for irrigation.
Expound on that.
I take it we changed the plants or done something, we don't have to water them or keep them?
We will have to water those plants the initial first year that they're installed, obviously, and that's permissible. You certainly can water them to get them established. So that first year, there will be some watering of those plants. But the plants were changed to more local plants that do not require irrigation on a daily or weekly so there's no irrigation piping in the median, nothing like that. So these plants are native type plants that don't require that. And of course, Tim was very involved in this process because he knows more about all that than I do. I'm certainly not a landscape architect or anything like that. But my understanding, the plants we have after they're established will not require irrigation, and that was a major change in the plan.
Thank you. Any other question or comment? Commissioner Bowman?
And I certainly can appreciate that it's been a long and tedious process because the first resolution is from Leland Maddox, the second one is from Jason Harper, and the third one is BJ. So obviously it's been a pretty good while taking place. I have the county DOT will provide the city paving services, labor, and equipment. I'm assuming we are not providing material, equal to $60,000 per year. That's what it's going to take to keep that up after it's established, $60,000 a year forever.
That would be the county's portion. If along that roadway, I forgot the numbers. It's like 26 and 74 or something like that. There's a percentage of the roadway that's in the county and a percentage of the roadway that's in the city of McDonough. This includes, when I say it's not only maintenance of the plants, which is a great question, Reed, it includes the right-of-way cutting as well. So because of this landscape corridor being maintained and the grass cut, it was anticipated, like for instance, normally along our roadways we cut 3 times a year. It's anticipated along this corridor that it could be cut maybe every 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, somewhere in that. So it's going to be a much higher level of maintenance. In addition, there's planting beds along certain intersection side roads. Those will be replanted annually and maintained as well. So then you have your pruning and mulching, your grass cutting, and any cutting in the medians. So all of that maintenance of the entire road. So it's not just the landscaping, but it's the right-of-way cutting as well.
And the right-of-way cutting actually on both sides, and that's all the way to 75.
From I-75
All the way back to
Norfolk Southern.
Well, that makes a lot more sense than $60,000 a year to maintain within the medians. I mean, because I know this will not rate real high with others, because we could pour that out of concrete and never, ever have to fool with it again. But I know there's a lot of other things involved in it, too. So that's all I have. I would just, cutting of the right-of-ways does make a lot, that helps a lot anyway. So,
and it will be done with, I think, different types of equipment than we would normally use to cut along our roadways as well. The purpose of this is to give very pleasant access coming into the city of McDonough, scenic type.
Any other comment? I'd just like to make a final comment about it. I was here during those different negotiations and agreements, and the reason the city of McDonough wanted to be a part of it is because they wanted to make Jonesboro Road the gateway from I-75 to McDonough. And it was a partnership arrangement that was negotiated with the county, and there were many things that took place. As Terry says, it's very long. Do I hear a motion that we approve this resolution?
Mr. Chairman, before we go any further, sure. Mr. Ernst here from the city of McDonough. I just wanted to see if he had any other comments you would like to add.
I'd just like to say that the city's in full support of this, and we look forward to making that corridor look a lot better than it does today.
It's kind of neat. You were on the other team when this all started. So now you're on the other team.
I wear several hats, yes.
Some of them we won't go into.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Stamey, second by Commissioner Bowman. All in favor? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Board and Chairman.
Thank you, Terry. Moving on to Parks and Recreation, we have a resolution before us requesting award of a bid to purchase landscape materials for the Jonesboro Road Enhancement Project. Presenter is Tim Conard, Director of Parks and Recreation, Exhibit Number 10.
Good morning. This is a resolution to purchase the plants that were talked about for the Jonesboro Road Gateway Project. These plants, we've met several times with GDOT, we've had local master gardeners that have met with us, the State Extension Agency, Frank Hancock, and members of McDonough City Council, and these are heirloom native type plants that are drought resistant, heat resistant for this area. We sent it out to purchasing, sent it out to bid. There was 3 responsive bids that came in from John Deere Landscape, from True Green Land Care, and from Wilson Brothers Nursery. And it's our recommendation that we accept all 3 for the reason that the pure numbers that we're talking about ordering, just to make sure that we don't tie ourselves where we can't get the materials, because on some of these things there's 400, 500, 800 plants per species. We have the Liriope, we're talking about 1,300, Aztec grass, and other variegated Liriopes, 8,300 plants, and we just don't want to get where we narrow it down to 1 or 2 vendors, and then we're not able to get the numbers to finish the project. What we will do is meet again with the three submittals. We'll go over the grade of plant, the price of the plants, and availability of plants, and we'll buy as low cost, as we can. And these are all these costs are reimbursable from the memorandum of understanding agreement with GDOT.
I'd just like to say this first, Tim, and I think you're smart to do that because many times landscape materials might not be available. There's so many factors and variables that can affect it as far as drought, freezing, what have you, that the plants might not be available. So I think you're wise in splitting the bid, and just want to say that. Any other question?
Tim, do you have, are these the only three local bidders, or was it more?
These were the only three that submitted a bid total.
So no other local grower bidded on this project?
No, sir.
They did initially before it was changed on the first time around when we had to change the project altogether, correct?
I don't know that the plants were ever sent out to bid prior.
Not this group of plants, but the previous plants that we were trying to get approved.
We had a lot of inquiries from local growers, but the trees and stuff changed a lot. And I think that was a majority of the change. It was a lot of the local tree farmers. But that changed due to a couple things. One, to the Zero-Scape landscaping plan, and the other is to meet GDOT requirements, because you can only have trees that are 15-foot high maximum height when you're talking about power lines and things like that. So some of the initial trees were not approved by GDOT to move into this plan here. So the plans have changed for that reason as well.
Okay.
Commissioner Bowman?
When the prices were, or when let me start all over again. When the requests for proposals were sent out, were quantities listed in the request for proposals? In other words, did we ask for 100 crepe myrtles? I mean, were the quantities included when you asked for?
No, it was a per item.
Per item. So, in other words, if you do break it out, John Deere couldn't come back and say, "Oh, by the way, I was bidding on 100, and now you're only going to give me 50 or whatever that case may be." So there were no quantities listed.
No, sir.
Okay, because when you look down the numbers kind of mind-boggling. I mean, $85 on the crepe myrtle from one, $267 from True Green, and then $96 from Wilson. And if you slide down the list, there's all types of things going on. I mean, there's wooden tree stakes is a good example. 50 cents from one, 85 from the other, $8.75 a piece from the other. I mean, these they seem to be all over the board. That's why I was curious if they were given quantities, if it's going to be 1, if it's going to be 100, if it's going to be 10.
No, sir. I can tell you that afterwards we did, purchasing did send out an addendum to this to these three growers, and asked them, what grade these plants were, to make sure they were high-end landscape plans and not just contractor grade plants, and also to check on a couple of these prices. Some of these, like the stakes and the tie-down webbing and stuff, are an individual price, and some of them are a bundle price. So that's some of the difference, like the 50 cents for the stakes and $8.75. Wilson Brothers, that's like a 20 stake bundle. So they sell theirs in bundles, and the other ones did it per piece. So we have gone back with them and got some clarification on these. After this is awarded, we do plan on meeting with all three of them again to clarify these bids, but that's the reason for it.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Tim.
Mr. Letter?
You indicated this was to purchase the plants for the previous resolution we just voted on, or memorandum, whatever. Previous one we talked about is a $241,000 grant for plant materials and associated installation cost, and I believe what I'm reading in this is $250,000, which is $9,000 more, and it's strictly for the purchase of landscape materials, thus leaving out the installation that the 241 in the previous. So I'm trying to, if these two aren't related, what's the difference, if you would?
Yes, sir. When this was and I may have to get Terry to help me here, but when this state aid grant was put in, it was for $250,000. It was awarded for $250,000. Once we sent, and when we sent out these costs, this bid, this request for proposal here, it was still a $250,000. Once we got all our costs together, which is cost of material, cost of soil amenities, labor, flagmen, all those other costs that we put together and sent to the state, it come up to $241,000. What that $241,000 number? Since this agreement reimburses us for our actual cost, the actual reimbursement is going to be $241,000. It's not going to be $250,000.
Well, then the resolution as it's presently presented needs to be changed, does it not?
When that was done, when his resolution and all was put together, the information, the original state aid contract was actually $249,000 and something change. So we didn't know what the exact amount was going to be at the time of writing that resolution, so we used that approximately that old number. After that came out, I mean, we just got that memorandum of agreement last Thursday.
Well, I'm just saying what's in our book, as I'm reading anyway, says on this resolution here is $250 and only for landscape materials. So if it is $241 and for both, then it should be changed before we vote to approve this resolution.
Do you have those costs itemized anywhere? Because I don't see them anywhere in this in our books.
Yes, sir. Judge, see it.
Any other comment or question?
This isn't actually itemized.
And let me add this, just to clarify, the plants, the total bid of the plants that came in, that may change a little bit because we did change a few of these, but you're probably looking at $50,000 or $60,000 of that $241,000 is this cost. What we're talking about here, this isn't $240,000 worth of plants. This is $60,000 worth of plants, with the rest being labor, soil amenity, flagman, those type of costs associated with it.
Again, to that point, that's the way the resolution reads. It's strictly for purchase of landscape material. That's why I'm wanting to make sure this gets changed, because according to this, we leave no room for the installation, and we buy a whole bunch more plants than we need, it appears. So that's all.
Any other questions? If not, you have before you a resolution, and I'll entertain a motion. We have a motion by Commissioner Stamey, second by Commissioner
Are
Holmes.
we changing the resolution or leaving it as it is?
Good question. All right, Commissioner.
Well, I'd like to approve it for the 250 because I'm sure there's some variables in what you're going to do. What happens if you don't hit the 251? Let's say it goes to 247 or 248.
That contract is a maximum not to exceed.
Not to exceed the 250.
Not to exceed 241. So anything over the 241 will come out of Henry County's.
So we do need to change this to read, if that's the maximum that they're going to approve, and this should be the 241.
And it also should state that it's not just for purchase of materials, since what I'm hearing is about 60,000 materials. The rest is for installation.
For labor.
So therefore, this has got to at least include maximum for the purchase of this being 60,000 or some figure, leaving whatever sufficient to take care of the installation. Or else we'll be buying plants and we'll be paying for hundreds of thousands of dollars of installation out of the county budget.
All right, let me.
Well, we have a set number of plants that are going to be purchased that goes by the plan that's approved by GDOT. For example, crepe myrtles, we have 196. They're going to come back and check this plan. It's going to be 196. So, I mean, we're only going to buy what what the plan tells us, that to buy and to purchase, because
But to the point that you buy them at $96 versus $85 or $267, by having the ability to buy it from whoever has them available, that $60,000 could be $80,000 if you're at the $267 or the $95. So you need some flexibility, I understand, but
Yes,
my
sir.
bigger concern is if you're talking $60,000 for materials, even if it's $70, you only have $241,000 in grant money, number one, and number two, you need to also include, or set aside, rather, again, the money for installation, and make sure there's sufficient amount of money there. So this resolution, the way it reads, I'd have trouble voting for it the way it is.
Mr. Chairman, I think if we change it to not to exceed the 241,000, and to include both the not only the planting materials, but the cost of installation and other related costs.
Who's going to do the contracting for the installation?
We are going to do it.
We're doing it in-house.
Y'all approved, I believe, last month, the agreement with the city of McDonough for $60,000 for the maintenance. So that comes from the 240. So 60 of the 240 has already been expended. Is that correct?
No.
Y'all approved
No.
the intergovernmental agreement with the city of McDonough?
We did approve an intergovernmental agreement for the maintenance.
And that's not included in this price?
That's not purchase and installation of the...
It's not included in the award of 241?
The maintenance of it, you have two maintenances. If you want to include, you have to, once you plant these materials, you got to maintain them for a year. The maintenance agreement, I think, that we passed with the city of McDonough is the annual maintenance cost to maintain, including cutting grass and the pruning, after the plants are established.
Okay. And that's not included in the grant award?
That's correct.
Okay.
I think it's two separate issues.
Okay.
At least that was the intent of it.
Yes, I understand now.
Okay.
I'd like to amend my motion to include in the new price of the new total grant of being $241, and include the maintenance of the insulation and actually the product, the plants itself.
Labor and material.
Labor, material, and insulation, correct.
Do you amend your second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion and a second as amended.
Discussion. Again, the way this reads by tacking it on is that we're basically saying that either John Deere, True Green, or Wilson Brothers will be the ones that are doing the landscaping and the installation, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the county doing it. So by tacking at the end of that sentence, we're basically saying we're extending the grant monies to be used for them to do the installation. So again, you got the acceptance of the grant, but you got the two separate issues, and I don't know how we're controlling our costs, quite frankly. Is there going to be a report to the board, monthly, weekly, or whatever, telling us if we've spent $80,000 or $100,000 or $200,000 to do this installation? How are we going to control that labor cost if we're the ones doing it?
I think what we're talking about is we're going to have to keep up with all hours and turn it in. If we have 4 people out there or 5 people out there, whatever, that we're going to have to keep those hours separate and turn those hours in so they can, that's the only way, that report also has to go to GDOT, because that's the only way that you get reimbursed for your labor. If we don't keep up with that labor cost, we don't get reimbursed.
If it is a hang-up, I would ask that you amend it one more time to say that this is for the purchase of the landscape materials, and that installation will be provided by Henry County.
And then change the amount of this one to
$241.
reflect the $60,000 in materials. I think that's what I've heard a number. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's going to be
I think if we...
pretty close, I think.
I do, and I think if we become too specific with numbers in this resolution, though, that we could end up having problems because of prior commitments by other agencies to help us fund this particular project. My opinion.
I'd have no problem saying not to exceed 70 to give some wiggle room, but I definitely don't want to leave it at 250.
I'm sorry, Commissioner. I didn't hear.
I said I would not have a problem indicating it is not to exceed 70,000, which since the 60's been
Which gives
given,
you
and that's about a 15% variance. And at the same time, but I have a problem leaving 250 because it's not what we're granting here is to the three bidders of materials.
I tend to agree. Because
That gives you a contingency of $10,000 in case you have some issue. Is that workable, in your opinion?
I believe cost-wise it would be fine, but the only thing is we have to plant these amount of plants to Terry, am I right or wrong? We have to plant this amount of plants to get reimbursed. So if it comes to $70,010, I mean, you've got to spend $70,010 and you don't get reimbursed any of it. Is that, am I correct in that, Terry? I believe 70,000 is a generous number for the plants, but.
Well, that's all this resolution is doing, is accepting these three people. It's not having anything to do with installation. That's what this resolution is about. So as far as including installation, there's no reason to talk about it. It's not part of this resolution.
We can do that because we're ordering it in stages. It's going to be ordered in 6 different, because we have no way to stage that many plants. So we're going to order them. They'll come in. We'll plant a section. We'll order again. They'll come in. We'll plant a section. I think that 70,000 is a good number, probably a high number.
Ms. Riley, in looking at the resolution as written, and all we're concerned with at this point is today is dealing with the 3 bidders for the materials. Why could we not simplify it and put a number not to exceed? Because this is just a portion of the GDOT contract. I think what we're confusing the issue with trying to make this, it is a part of the GDOT contract, but we're only dealing with this. I think that what threw us off was the $250,000. I think it needs to be a number not to exceed. And according to the contract with GDOT, they pay up to $60,000. Is that correct? Or did they give that?
They didn't give a number.
They just gave the 241. Okay, lump sum. Then, in my opinion, tell me if I'm wrong, Mr. Wiley, this resolution should have a number not to exceed. Use the 70,000. Absolutely. And adopt it as written. I think the big confusion was in the $250,000.
Yes,
so
strike 250.
That would be my
not to
recommendation or my thought.
Yes.
Well, LaTanya, with that same thought, since the city of McDonough is in with us on this agreement, are they going to have to reapprove their side?
No, because I received clarification this morning that the money that the city of McDonough will receive for the after installation maintenance, after it's installed by Henry County, and we've expended the money to acquire the plants, we've installed them, and we turn it over to the city of McDonough to do the continual maintenance. That part of money will be from, I guess, general fund dollars. So city of McDonough will not partake directly in the award of the money from GDOT, correct?
Well, I would think if McDonough does participate in the plantings along the roadway, since it still is reimbursable, no different than Tim's crew, we'll keep up with any labor that they might extend.
So we're good like we are.
What is the actual motion on the floor, Madam Clerk? What is the actual motion that's on the floor right now?
Commissioner Sammy made the motion to amend it to include the amount of he said $70,000 for the purchase of landscape materials, and installation will be provided by Henry County.
Okay, I think that's...
But you have the 241, correct? The new...
The 241 shouldn't play into this.
Not to exceed 70 or 241?
I think the way you made the motion was 241.
I think I did 241.
Yeah, so it needs to be amended again to the 70 that you're suggesting.
Make the 70 up to.
In the motion to include, amend my present motion to include not to exceed 70,000.
And amend on the second as well.
Yes.
And the second's been amended. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your hand, please. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Tim. Now, moving slowly along, next item on the agenda is a resolution requesting authorization to accept a donation from the Georgia Kayak Fishing Association. And surely this one won't be tough if we accepted a donation.
Yes, the Georgia Kayak Fishing Association has been a supporter of Henry County Parks and Recreation Special Olympics program for the last 2 years. They received a grant for Innovative Program of the Year for their efforts for the Special Needs Kayak and Fishing Day held this past June at Henry County Water Authority. With that grant, they would like to donate 4 kayaks and a enclosed cargo trailer that's been wrapped and everything to Henry County Parks and Recreation Department to help them develop and implement a Special Olympic kayaking team. The total value of this equipment is $8,500.
Any questions or comments on that?
What liabilities are we taking on when the use of these kayaks are being done? And I noticed the Special Olympics is mentioned. Are these going to be used for Special Olympics, or we just happen to receive this because of our awards for Special Olympics? Because that again comes back to the question of liability. What is going to be used for Special Olympics or special needs people, children, or whatever?
We are a pilot program for the kayaking program for Special Olympics. When we have participants sign up to participate, they sign a waiver and a release form with us, a participation form, just like you would basketball, baseball, anything else. They also fill out paperwork that is with Georgia Special Olympics, a waiver release and those things. They also fill out the forms with their medical background and those type of things to make sure that they meet a minimal requirement by Georgia Special Olympics to be able to perform that activity. Along with that, Georgia Special Olympics has an 8-week training class for any program that they have for coaches, partners, and for athletes that they participate in to get them trained and certified. After they become certified, where we would do the kayaking at is in Macon. There's a Special Olympic Adaptive Center down there that also has a sailing program, and we're already a part of the sailing program where we send athletes down to do the sailing. But when they do that, there are medical teams on watercraft and rescue teams on watercraft that are out on the water with them, along with they're in the boat or the sailing vessel with a partner or a staff person that's been trained for that 8 weeks to be with them. So we don't put them in a kayak and send them out. There's other people on the water with them. There's people in the boat with them that have been trained and certified by Special Olympics to be in that situation. So, I mean, we also have skiing programs. We have, not water skiing, but snow skiing programs and other things. So they have to be trained for any of these activities by Georgia Special Olympics. And also, we have two people on our staff that are NRPA, National Recreation Park Association certified, that are certified therapeutic recreation specialists that have their degrees in therapeutic recreation and are recognized nationally as specialists, Terry Nash and Reggie Ammons. And also Terry Nash used to work for Georgia Special Olympics, and she's also a national coach, and she has coached in the national events for Special Olympics. So we feel like we're doing all the things that are required through Special Olympics and probably above and beyond what most every other department in the state has as far as trained staff and certifications, and so
I'm not trying to take a program away from Special Olympics. I just want to make sure that whatever documents we have, and I asked the county attorney, based on the documents presently in place, that they'll be sufficient to cover us for a program on the water with the additional things that have been said here as to the precautions and certifications and whatever that we're taking.
I've not been provided with any such documents for review. And I'm also, does the county have any agreement between the county and the Georgia Special Olympics that would indemnify the county for liability claims? Because I'm not familiar with the board approving any such agreement.
Yes, to be a part of the Georgia Special Olympics, they come and review your program, they review your classes, your staff. So we're reviewed every year by them to be able to participate. We can't just pick up and start a program and call it Special Olympics.
I understand, but has the board been presented with an agreement to approve between it and the Special Olympics?
I wouldn't know. They've been doing it for 20-something years, way before I got here. So I don't know that if
it might be one in the archive somewhere.
Yeah, I wouldn't. We haven't brought it here since I've been here. We haven't brought an agreement since I've been here, but they've been a part of this since the early 80s.
It may be in the archives.
I would just like to ask that the attorney and you check into that, because that is most important, that we are covered, not just for the kayaking, but for many of the other activities that take place throughout our recreation program, because that's certainly a potential liability for the county. Any other questions? Okay, you have before you the request. Do I hear a motion in support of this resolution? We have a motion by Commissioner Holmes. Second by Commissioner Stamey. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? We have 2 in favor of. All opposed? Have 2 in opposition to.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
It's not that I'm opposed as much to the grant as I would like to see more information from Special Olympics to Henry County to make sure that we are covered in all the areas. I'm not against the grant. I'm not against Special Olympics. I'm not against any of that. But I understand where Commissioner Oletta's going with it, and the fact that there are certain liabilities. And I also understand Tim's response that we have qualified people, but at the same time, I think that we should probably have something in writing that would at least we could go back to and have something to, for our county attorney to take a look at, so that, we know that there are certain liabilities that we might be able to share some of the liability as opposed to having it all on Henry County.
I'd like to. But for the same reasons as Commissioner Bowman mentioned, is why at this point I'm not prepared to vote yes. I'd love to see this happen. But you also indicated this is a pilot program. Therefore, the experiences of how this program has worked elsewhere has not happened, and thus the bugs, if you would, of what potential liabilities, documents, and whatever necessary. So all I'm asking as well is that it be reviewed before we do take a vote, and hopefully all those things are well taken care of, and we can take this and get the kayaks and move on. So that's where I'm at.
Well, can I just get a clarification then?
Well, it's not over yet, Tim. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Comment I'm going to make is this, and of course I will make the decision. I think the people making the donation, and I think it's important that you know there's a donation, not a grant, that they'll be given direction. And I will vote to accept the donation, so therefore the vote will be 3 in favor, 2 opposed. And I want to put a stipulation on, not on the acceptance of the donation, but that the attorney, county attorney, and you before these are used, not accepted, but before they are put to use, that you work out an agreement that is between Special Olympics and Henry County to limit our liability. And I think if that can be done, I think we send a bad message not accepting someone's donation. It's the two that were opposed, I know the reason they were opposed, and if I wasn't sitting here as a chairman, I probably would have said the same thing, because you always look at what's legal and your potential liabilities that exist. What more liability that can be involved in water sports? This is, and I understand that, but we do not need to send a bad message to the people willing to donate the watercraft to us for a program that will be good. So I think that can be worked out, and I think that between the two of you, please get together and get this done so that by the time the watercraft get here, we accept them, we'll already have an agreement in place and things will move on.
We can do that.
Madam Attorney, don't we need to amend, doesn't Bruce need to amend his motion then to include that verbiage? Because it came in after the vote?
But I'm not making this as part of the motion.
Okay.
I'm approving the motion as made. I'm making this after the fact. Does not need to be a condition of the motion, in my opinion.
You can still do that, correct?
Yes, he's just giving a directive to staff, and we'll take care of it.
That's a directive from staff. It has nothing to do with the acceptance of the donation.
Okay.
Okay, moving right along. Thank you so much, Tim.
Can I just get one clarification?
Yes.
Because we are involved in other Special Olympic activities right now.
Needs to be.
Do we need to stop those activities until we get this clarification?
You do not, but I would encourage you to get it as quickly as possible.
We will.
Because the kayaks don't need to be treated indifferently from wheelchair, from the various other activities that we currently do, but we need to protect ourselves to the best that we can.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Moving on to elections, we have a resolution requesting authorization of the election superintendent to call for a referendum for the question of whether to permit Sunday sales of malt beverages, wine, and distilled spirits in unincorporated Henry County. Presenter is Janet Sheldon, Director of Elections and Registrations.
First of all, we need to amend that it's only malt liquor and wine. It is not distilled spirits, because currently there is no distilled spirits within unincorporated county, okay? And I wanted to also say I'm not being an advocate of Sunday alcohol sales, but I am a very passionate and advocate for voters' rights. I believe as commissioners this may be a hard one that you might not want to vote on, but the way the legislation works is they rolled it on down to y'all. Either the cities or the county had to do a resolution if you wanted it on the ballot. That was a very different piece of legislation, Senate Bill 10. I don't believe the governor would sign it unless it was brought to each entity. We did not put it on the November ballot because that was a municipal year. If we had, it would have cost between $20,000 and $25,000. We would have had to split costs with the Board of Educational SPLOST. So this one is a free one. We have the March 6th presidential preference. We can place it on this ballot at no cost to the county, and all the precincts would be open, for your federal and state elections. Like I said, the wording was already in the resolution and in the legislation, so we already knew how to word it on the ballot, and I believe in the right for people to make a choice on whether they want alcohol sales on Sunday. So I'm requesting that we please give me some yes votes so I can place it on the March 6th ballot.
Okay, do we have any questions from the commissioners?
I have a question. Janet, next year being a election cycle for the county, being the 2012, wouldn't it possibly be a primary in July anyway?
There's going to be a primary in July.
Is it?
And it's going to be a large primary. And I I've kind of looked at the other counties to see what they were doing. A number of them are putting it on this March election for two reasons. Revenue. I was real surprised at how many calls I got during the November election of why they couldn't vote for it or against it. And it was a municipal year. So I think we were placing it on the first ballot that it was available so that these county people may or may not be able, if it passes, to be able to sell alcohol on Sundays, as the cities are already doing, or McDonough I know is. I know the other three, I believe, start in December or by January 1st. That was one of the reasons. And the other is the primary ballot in July has so many things on it. It has, you have a Republican ballot, a Democratic ballot, constitutional amendments, and it's a back and front ballot on paper, so you can imagine on a machine, touchscreen, how many it is. So it sometimes just overloads the ballot and makes it that long, almost. So I was just trying to put it out there as soon as possible, and also on a ballot that it at least could be seen. Okay?
But cost-wise, wouldn't that be the most efficient way to do it?
It won't cost either one. We don't necessarily pay for elections for ballots and things for any primaries, because there's federal and state officials on the ballots. We could plop it in March, we can plop it in July, we can plop it next November. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be at no cost to the county to add it to that ballot. Okay.
Commissioner Bowman?
I do have several comments, and I don't, I feel like any time we can give the citizens the opportunity to vote on it, I think that we should. I think we can't do it with everything because, obviously that's what we're up here for. But in this case, this is, while it's being done in the cities, then, my personal preference would be one thing, but, as far as being representative, I think that, it should be going to the citizens. But I also agree with Commissioner Stamey in that I actually feel like there'll be more people voting in July than there will be in March. And there's going to be a lot more on it, like you said, a lot more on the ballot. So there's going to be a lot of decisions to be made in the July ballot. And I would actually be more comfortable with the July ballot as the March ballot, just based on I believe there's going to be a lot. I think there'll be a lot more people voting on that. And I want representation from as many as I can get.
And I can agree with that. The one difference is the presidential preference 4 years ago, we voted more than we did in July. The July election, for some reason, Henry County has not voted more than 35% of the voters. It may be because it's in July, they're on vacation, they have to pick Republican or Democrat. Some of those skip that and go right to the general. That's why I was saying. And in the preference 4 years ago in 2008, we voted 56%. So if we go by averages, the averages would be high in the preference and not the July. But now,
I'm thinking with the not new, but the recent past few years of early voting and absentee voting and all the other things that we do to try and make sure that everybody has that opportunity, I would still be more comfortable because it gives a little bit more time for. I understand that there's certain entities that, are being hurt economically maybe from the fact that they're not, but March, April, May, June, July, I mean, you really, March or July, either way, we're going to give the citizens the opportunity to vote for it. So unless somebody has something on the board that can change my mind, that's the direction I'm leaning anyway. So.
Just for clarification for me, I've heard this over and over, I just want to make, if I want to go to a sports bar that serves food on Sunday, I can buy alcohol there and watch the game. And prior to the city's passing, there was no way in the county I could go out and buy alcohol, bring it home and watch the game, drink to whatever levels I want. And the way the law is now, that I could go drink at a sports bar, like I said, watch the game, and then drive home having drunk whatever I did, versus the ability to go take it home and drink. So I just want to make sure I was correct in that
That's
assumption.
right.
Okay.
This is for alcohol sales at like a Texaco, 7-Eleven, Walmart, whatever, would have the right to serve, just not serve, sell beer and wine only within the unincorporated county.
Okay.
That's, we have no liquor stores whatsoever in the unincorporated. They're all annexed within the 4 cities.
Okay. The only thing, I guess, as far as the timing, if you would, of the election or the process, the vote, if the issue is as controversial as it sometimes is made to be, and maybe it isn't, since the 4 cities have already voted and people have come out and they've had time to think about it, people in the county are either happy we didn't vote or very unhappy because the cities have. I don't have a problem bringing it up in March, because if it's a controversial enough vote, and I have a strong opinion one way or the other, there's a process of voting, and it will bring people out at the same time and maybe help whatever the election that's going on in March to bring more voters to the table to vote their choice on what that is as well. So to that extent, it's closer, if you would, to what just happened with all the cities versus waiting. So to that extent, I don't have a problem doing it in March.
Given the fact that the cities have already moved forward, and I've gotten a number of requests from people who are pro Sunday sales, I think we do it sooner rather than later.
Just a final comment before we ask for the call. The comments that have come to me have come from larger grocery stores, and I'm going to use examples. The Publix at Luella, or what do you want to call it, Locust Grove, whatever, is outside the city. The Kroger at East Lake, they're competing against people that are just inside the city limits, and it's that's the concern that I have, that has been brought to me. As far as the timing, I understand the fact of basically what Janet's trying to do as far as balancing an election, because you already have a loaded ballot for July. You don't for March. From the fairness issue from county versus city, then obviously March would be the first one. That's a decision this board will make, and those are the concerns that have been brought to me. And at this point, I will ask for a motion in support of this resolution. Motion by Commissioner Holmes, second by Commissioner Arletta. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Okay, we have Commissioners Arletta and Holmes in support. All those opposed? Commissioners Stamey and Bowman in opposition. And I believe this is a first. I'm going to have to break the tie again, and I will vote in the affirmative in support of the motion to have it in March. But here's two decisions. I'm going to have to talk to Commissioner Chairman Mathis, because I think she avoided But anyhow, the motion carries 3 in favor, 2 in opposition.
Can I make a comment now that it's passed? Now that it's closed, I would like to make the comment in that I still am firmly believe that the citizens should make the decision. And that's, I just want to go on record as saying that. I'm just opposed to the time. Thank you.
And I know that this was a very touching. It's one of those that I would rather have seen the legislation different, so we didn't have to make the choices, but that's not the way it worked this go-around. But I appreciate it.
And also echoing some of those same thoughts. That was my concern. I think I just believe that July would be a larger turnout, either pro or con. I'm looking at sheer volume of voters is what I was trying to get the most people out in favor or against either way. You know, I think that's the best opportunity. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Moving on to planning and zoning services, we have a request to amend an ordinance as it relates to adult entertainment businesses within unincorporated Henry County. Our presenter is Michael Harris, Planning and Zoning Services Division Director. It will be exhibit number 13 in our book.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. As stated, here before you to request a replacement of our current adult entertainment ordinance. And I just want to reiterate, as we have in the previous times I've been up here to present, that there have been no recent, nor there are no current, nor have there been any recent inquiries concerning this matter. But just to go back and to restate how we've gotten to this point, back in January 18th of this year, the board opted to place a moratorium on adult entertainment applications. Since that time, we've had a number of subsequent extensions of that moratorium. My staff has gone through and done a great amount of research, working in conjunction with the county attorney, who's done a lot of research. I think you still have received this DVD on correspondence from a number of other jurisdictions. Most recently, it was tabled on October 17th to address a few issues. Again, it's a fairly voluminous document, so what I'd like to do this morning is go over the key points of the proposed new ordinance and also address those 4 issues that were brought up at the last meeting. Some of the key points of the proposed new adult entertainment ordinance is that first, it establishes 2 designated areas for which adult entertainment establishments may be located. Just to go back, our previous ordinance, the way we established the locations was based principally on proximity restrictions. And moving forward with the proposed new ordinance, we've incorporated those same proximity restrictions, and utilizing those proximity restrictions, we've identified 2 designated areas, one in the northern part of the county, one in the southern part of the county, and actually have maps depicting both areas as well. The area represented on the maps as shown actually represents a reduction by 65% from what is currently allowed based on our current ordinance, from 34 allowable parcels to 14 parcels. And again, that represents a reduction of over 65%. Another one of the key points is that it retains the condition that no alcoholic beverages shall be served or allowed on the premises of an adult entertainment establishment. It establishes a registration fee for all adult entertainment establishments. Applicants are required to notify all property owners within 1,000 feet of the proposed location. It requires that adult entertainment establishments be located in a separate building on its own lot and a minimum of 3,000 feet from another adult entertainment establishment. It prohibits full nudity, and it also adds a provision to address chronic criminal activity. Some of those last points were some of the points that were brought up at the October 17th meeting. Just want to go over those real quick. Again, on October 17th, we presented the item, and it was tabled. The board asked for some recommendation and clarification on 4 particular items. I just want to go over those things right now, real quickly. First item was appropriate covering, and we've added a provision in Section 3-17-12G that states it should be unlawful for any persons to appear in any portion of an adult entertainment establishment or any other business open to the public in a state of nudity. Further go on, within that section, it defines what nudity is and what coverings are appropriate for adult entertainment entertainers. The next point is a distance between adult entertainment establishments. We've added to Section 3-1711B4 that no adult entertainment establishment may be located within 3,000 feet of any parcel of land containing another adult entertainment establishment. There was some concern that we can have, in essence, a complex of adult entertainment establishments. We want to make sure that we had a designated distance between them. The number that was noted during the meeting was a half a mile. 3,000 feet is obviously just a little over half a mile. The measurement, how that distance is measured, we use a definition. as stated in Section 317.11B4 as well. It defines how we go about measuring that distance. And the last point that was brought up was chronic criminal activity. There's a concern that if we have an establishment in which there is a series of criminal activities that are going on in the location, that there be some kind of provision to be able to suspend or revoke their license, and that was addressed in Section 317.18B. Whenever 3 or more persons are judged guilty in a trial court of committing certain criminal acts as described in one of the other subsections, A2, on the premises of an adult entertainment establishment, then said license shall be subject to suspension or revocation. So again, those were the 4 key points that were brought up in the previous meeting, as well as the key points of the overall ordinance as it stands. And we've looked at and researched multiple jurisdictions. Again, worked closely with the county attorney to come up with language, and looked at other areas where they've gone through and they've gone through this process previously, and they've developed language that has proven to be defensible in their case. So at this time, I'm seeking authorization to repeal our current ordinance and replace it with the new adult entertainment ordinance as you have before you.
Okay. Commissioner Bowman?
First of all, I want to commend our staff for all the hard work. I know this is not the easiest thing you've ever done. I know for a fact that a lot of our staff, really would not even want this anywhere near Henry County, much less in Henry County. I also want to say that I believe the founding fathers would turn over in their grave saying this is part of a constitutional right. I'm saying that to our attorney because I just don't believe that it is, although just because I don't believe that it is doesn't mean anything, obviously. But I've had a number of meetings, with people that I have a lot of contact with, and what you've done, I commend you heavily on what you've done, seriously, and because I'm one of the ones, I guess, that pushed, all of us did, and I'm not trying to say I'm saying the board has pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and and I know that I don't think anybody on this board really wants to see any of this happen in Henry County, but what you've done and the fact that what's happened in Forest Park at some of theirs, and the fact that some of the things have gone on, and the fact that you've taken out the sale of alcoholic beverages, and the fact that you've limited it to no full nudity, and you've taken physical contact, which I'm assuming means the lap dances.
That's correct.
And some of the other things, that you guys have done a great job, really. And I just wanted to say that, to the ones that I've had conversations with, I knew it was coming up, and there's a lot of people out there today watching this meeting that I've had conversations with, and explained to them that, while there's no application for this anywhere in the county, and that the point, I guess I'm probably chasing a rabbit, the point I'm trying to get over is that without this, it could go in a number of places. I mean, I think it's in one, but these areas, these establishments can go into. They can, and what we've done is you've tightened it down, you've reduced it by 65%. And obviously somebody's going to get it, and District 4 is going to have it. I mean, not going to have it, but it's going to be one of the areas. And I think District 2 is getting, a lion's share. But at the end of the day, we don't know what the cities are doing. We haven't seen anything as far as the cities that I know of. But my comment is, you guys have done a good job. You've done a great job. This is a very hard thing for you to do, and it's going to be very tough on us. But at the end of the day, I think that you've done extremely well in what you've done.
Thank you.
And with that being said, I just, I was reiterating Commissioner Holder some of the things that that Mike has brought out, and I want to just kind of go over them again, just getting them more in the record. No alcoholic beverages.
Sold or allowed on the premises?
On the premises, sold or allowed, so they can't brown bag their way in or whatever. So, the two zones, that's beside the point, but the fact is that they could do it on 821 acres or 34 parcels. It's been reduced to the point to where they can only do it now on 280 acres, a 65% reduction. It needs to be said that what you've done is you've tightened that noose to where it's going to be. It's going to be hard. There's a lot of stipulations that they'd have to meet that ordinance. And without, I got a lot of comments, and and I put them in play that this is not something that anybody on this board really wants to support, but on the same token, we want to support the ordinance simply because of the reduction of what's being done and the things that are going on and what you've done. We all know that these type of establishments promote crime, property values decrease when these things come in. But I think what you've done is, what we've done here maybe is an attempt to keep it to the point where the real truth is, without getting everybody drunk up, they can't make any money. So, I think that may not be what I need to say in public, but it is what it is. And that's the way I feel, and I tend to say things the way I feel. So, thank you again for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Commissioner Leonard?
As well, I'd like to reiterate that same feeling that it's been a long process. It may have been going on before I even came on the board, but it's definitely been a long process for the staff, and did an excellent job of listening and incorporating thoughts and ideas. And I guess it's been an interesting day, been interesting the last month or so between dogs and other things that we've had to get involved. Now in one meeting we've got alcohol and adult entertainment in the same meeting, so but maybe next year will be a lot different. But on the 1,000 feet, I appreciate the definition as we talked last time of putting one in, and apologize for not knowing this, but the easements that the property owners have or have given up or whatever, is that line from the line of the easement as well of the property, or where the property easement ends in the road or whatever? Where would that 1,000 feet start?
It would be at the edge of the property line. They don't own the property. If it's an easement, then they don't own that property, then wouldn't be counted from that location. Now, you're saying easement.
Well, let's take 155. There are some easements, I would think, that are given on 155, and it is one of the areas there near the interstate. If there are easements that are given by the landowners, that's not their property. I'd heard the other day it was just the opposite. So I'm understanding that is their property. They just give an easement for the utility companies to come in. So therefore, if it's a 40-foot easement that's being given, then the line is actually at the end of that 40 feet closer to the road versus inside the road. Is that correct or not?
If they own that easement, yes, sir. If the easement is on their property, they own the easement, then it's from their physical property line.
Okay. One of the two other issues, one is in the article that was written in October about the Forest Park prevailing on adult clubs. And
yes.
One of the other things that they have, and I found in here, is that they also restrict tipping. Is that something that should?
I believe Section 3-17-12. Let me get the exact number. It's under subsection I. 317.12, subsection I, says no patron shall directly pay or give any gratuity to any entertainer. And J follows that with no entertainer shall solicit or accept any pay or gratuity directly from a patron.
Very good. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And the only thing other than that is that in this final and Forest Park's prevailing, one of the issues that seemed to be argued, and maybe you've covered it with the chronic criminal activity paragraph, and is that they had said that the city's ordinance didn't give the authority to establish rules of evidence of law and thus it made it impossible for clubs to get a fair hearing without the rules. Are we covered with regard to having appropriate rules to make sure that we don't have a challenge, as was given to the city of Forest Park?
Yeah, I mean, I know we've sort of vetted this with the county attorney, and we've looked at it a number of different ways, and some of the language we use from those jurisdictions where it has already been defended. But specific to your question as to whether or not if you can repeat your question, Commissioner?
I'm just reading from the article itself, and basically the article just says that the hearing officer, Michael Martin, the former Forest Park City Court judge, postponed the proceedings so he could hear defense motions to suppress evidence and to have Martin recused. He also acknowledged that the city's ordinance doesn't give him the authority to establish rules of evidence or rules of law. He said that it was impossible for the courts to get a fair hearing without the rules. So
I think that was referring to his position as a special hearing officer, I believe. I may be wrong.
I think so, because obviously if he was acting in capacity as a sitting judge, then the rules of evidence would apply. But I'm not really sure about that particular ruling, because even in quasi-judicial hearings, administrative hearings, it's well established that the rules of evidence, while not strictly applied in those proceedings, do apply. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really sure what the basis for that determination was.
I would only request that if, in fact, we pass this today, to move on, that we do that thorough check to make sure whatever it is that they have a problem with regarding rules of law are brought back, if we need those, to make sure we don't have an issue at a future date. Okay. I don't know if it's necessary today to have that discussion or put that in place, but it's just something I would like to make sure we're covering from the legal aspects of whatever they were open to, we're not open to. Hate to do all the work that's been done and have that little crack in somebody can sneak through or start claiming a problem with. So, again, like I say, I don't think it's necessary for today, but I do think and do request that some report come back that we're covered, or if we're not, bring forth whatever it is to make sure we've got those rules of law.
Any other comment, question? If not, we have before us the resolution, and I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make the motion that we approve it. Although it's not something, like I said earlier, that I would like to do, I think that it's the right thing to do because it's going to severely limit the amount that could actually go in if they wanted to go in today under our current ordinance.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Commissioner Stamey. Any further discussion?
Excuse me, Commissioner. I believe this has a public hearing. We need to call for any public
I'm sorry.
question.
You're right. It is public hearing. Is anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in favor of the proposal? Seeing no one, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the proposal? Seeing no one. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Motion carries 4-0. Moving along, we have a request to amend the Unified Development Code as it relates to adult entertainment businesses within the unincorporated Henry County. And again, Michael Harris, and that's exhibit number 14.
Yeah, thank you. This is the associated amendment to our Unified Land Development Code, and what this does is takes the ordinance that you've just adopted and puts those provisions, adds those provisions within our ULDC, and creates a section in Chapter 4, Adult Entertainment Establishments, and provides, the supplemental standards to address the structural and location requirements in accordance with Sections 12.02, 11, and 12.0300 of the ULDC. So this is the subsequent step to put the provision in place within the ULDC. It gives us the text to be able to regulate these.
Does the board have any questions about that one? Any comments? If not, is there a motion? Motion by Commissioner Arletta, seconded by Commissioner Bowman. All in favor, raise your hand. Passes 4-0. The motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Moving on to the Finance Department, we have a kickoff to the fiscal 2013 budget. Mike Bush will be the presenter.
Good morning, Chairman and Board. This has been a long meeting, so this is going to be a short kickoff. What I've presented here in front of you today is our tentative budget calendar. These are one of the days we'll start with the departments around January 18th to hand them out their 2013 documentation. We have increased the number of weeks that we'll have to spend with the departments going over these budgets by an additional 2 weeks. We think we need that because this budget will be no easier than any of the last few we've had. Again, we plan to, on the first meetings of the month on the workshops, starting in, I would say, February, because January we won't, it might even be March, kind of give you a little update on what's going on with the budget process. I'm sure we'll have to schedule some meetings to have you guys involved in some of these discussions above and beyond these actual advertised public hearings. We have to adopt our budget no less than 30 days prior to the beginning of the year, and right now we've got down here that May 14, 2012 will be the adoption date. Again, that can change depending on if we're waiting on information from the tax assessor regarding budgets or still working on whatever factors we need to. But again, this is just something to kind of come out here in December of 11 to basically say we've been already going through processes to start. We've been talking with insurance companies and our retirement companies, everything we can to try to save $1, and that's what we're trying to do right now. And again, I just wanted to kind of present this today. We'll provide each one of you with one of these calendars, and also once we start setting up dates to meet with individual departments, we'll provide you with that as well. So in case you want to be at one of those hearings, you're more than welcome to be there. And I'll take any questions, or I can sit back down.
Commissioner Arletta?
It's good to get to a subject more I understand, I guess, than the last two. What I would like to add to this calendar is a report from the Finance Department each month to the board of the month's results together with the year-to-date results, in which it specifies where we are over or under budget. And as we discussed last time with the budget being changed to not just a straight calendarization, but actually based on the actual way we're recording the income or expenses. And I realize there's still going to be variances, but to close that gap of those variances in that regard. But I'd like to see that become a formality, so before we start worrying about the departments figuring out what they're going to spend, let's figure out what they are spending against last year's budget and if we're going to be able to hold it.
Okay.
So.
And I'll be glad to do that. I just want all of you and everybody out there to know that most of the time you have to work down to a balanced budget. So it's always going to look like it's over budget, and that's why we're working it down to a balanced budget. But I'll be glad to provide that.
Okay. And the other it's along the same lines as Mr. Sanders. We had worked to get a budget or comparison or just an actual results for the airport. And about a month ago, I'd gotten something and wasn't yet prepared. I was just wondering the status of getting a report for the citizens regarding the first 4, 5, 6 months of operation of the airport and bringing that forward as well. And also along the lines, I'd like to clarify, I've seen some write-ups that seem to keep quoting we've got a $941 or 14 or whatever $1,000 airport budget, making it sound like we're spending $914,000 without any income to offset it. I just want to reiterate, it's a balanced budget. It is not that we're spending monies, taking them out of general funds to continue to run the airport, but it's a balanced budget to having incomes coming in equal to those expenditures, and of course those expenditures are associated with the running of it, and the incomes likewise are because of the income and from running it, not from any other source. So I'd want to clarify that, but at the same time, if we could just take a look at the airport as well, because obviously some things that we're going to be doing and wanting to do, we should have that report as well.
Any other question, comment?
Thank you.
If not, thank you, Mike. Moving on to board appointments, ever so often, terms expire and board appointments need to be made on various boards. And the one today is regarding the hospital appointment to the Hospital Authority. It's exhibit number 15 in our booklet. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or recommendations on Commissioner Bowman?
Commissioner Holder, I would like to. I've been speaking with several people about the. I know it's not a district in a way, but then again it is. And one particular person on the list is from my district. I've got several inquiries that have called me to ask about that position, and I would like to have an opportunity to put those together in the form of for the one person, in the form of a request that we give to the hospital the 3 names on the one that's in my district.
Okay. Are you asking that it be tabled, or you want?
Yes, sir. I would like to have the motion tabled until I can make that happen.
Okay, we have a motion to table the appointment to the hospital board appointments until a later date. Do I have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second that it be tabled. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the tabling, raise your hand. The motion carries 4-0 to table. Did anyone sign up for public comments, Madam Clerk? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Just so we know how long we have for this to be tabled and get back, when do we have to have these, does anybody know when we have to have these names to them to meet their timetable for reappointing or appointing new ones?
Their terms expire in December.
Okay.
And I believe, if I could stand to be corrected, but if an appointment is not made for a successor, they will continue to serve until a successor is named. Is that not correct? I think that's the way it's actually worded.
Very good.
Mr. County Manager, do you have any comments for public session?
No, sir.
Madam Attorney?
Just one, just a public notice, reminder that the redistricting package for the proposed map that was approved by you all, as well as the Georgia General Assembly, has been forwarded to the Department of Justice for review, and is in that process now. We have advertisements in the paper giving specific information about that to citizens. It's also posted, the maps themselves are posted at various public facilities throughout the county, the libraries, senior centers, and recreation centers. And the county clerk's office is maintaining an actual physical copy of the package that was sent up to the Justice Department. So I wanted to make that fact publicly known, since we've had several public hearings on the issue. I thought that would be something the public will want to know.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings and events. Tomorrow, December the 20th at 6:30 p.m. will be a regular board meeting here. All county offices will be closed on the following days in observance of the holidays. Friday, December 23rd, 2011. Monday, December the 26th, 2011. Friday, December the 30th, 2011. And Monday, January the 2nd, 2012. Tuesday, January 3rd at 9 a.m., we'll have our regular board meeting back here. Is there a need for an executive session?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I hear a motion to convene into executive session?
So moved.
No, we got it. We just, man won't read. Read it.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, read it in. Because that's the official way.
Okay. You want me to read it because I'm going to make the move? I move that we adjourn into executive session in accordance with the provisions of OCGA 50-14-3 and other applicable laws and pursuant to the advice of the county attorney.
Do we have a motion and a second? Second. Motion is second. All in favor? We are in executive session, ladies and gentlemen.
This one, I got to make a motion.
Yeah.
That's right.
No,
I'd like
no,
to
no,
make
no.
a motion that we
No,
amend.
no. Second. Motion is second. All in favor? Now, we need to amend the agenda out of public necessity for an item that has come before us in executive session, and with that, Mr. Bowman?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the acquisition of property located at 530 West Highway 2081, McDonough, Georgia, for a public road improvement project to be completed by the Henry County Department of Transportation, and to allow the county attorney to sign all closing documents pertaining to this transaction.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? A motion and second. And I'm going to ask this from the attorney, and I think I know the answer. Obviously, we only have 4, which is a quorum. But if as far as the vote, do all 4 need to vote, or to make 4 still be the quorum of the entire board, or does 3 count with the quorum that's present?
Right, I researched, and Robert's rule says that in the absence of anything to the contrary, it's a majority of the members who are present, and that will constitute a vote. So 3 would be a majority of those voting members present.
But as far as the chair, this one is a little bit different from Robert's rules, and the chair can vote or does not have to vote on particular issues. Is that
That's correct. It's your option.
So I will vote on this one.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor, once again? All opposed? The vote was 4-0 for approval of the resolution. Is there any more business to come before this board?
Mr. Chairman, did y'all vote on the affidavit for executive
We did.
session? Okay.
We voted just as you were walking in. I'm sorry. Is there any other business? Was there anything else, Madam Attorney, that needed to, other than the one resolution?
No, sir, that was it.
Any other business to come before the board before we adjourn? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
A motion and second motion by Commissioner Bowman, second by Commissioner Holmes. All in favor? Votes 4-0. We are adjourned.